Last time we kind of talked about their season compared to last year's team and whatnot. So I just kind of wanted to ask you about the Big Ten, or not sorry, the Big Ten, the NCAA tournament. They had kind of a tough going there, playing Pepperdine and Fresno State. But it kind of seemed to me, watching the two games, that they really were kind of their own worst enemy. They kind of left a lot of people on base, which was kind of the story of their season from my observation. So what do you think that was not really going right for them against Pepperdine, and just those both games that maybe had they done something better, had they done that better, they wouldn't won those games?
Well, what you have to remember is that Michigan State was the only team in there in the Palo Alto Regional that was not from California. So while I think the furthest drive for the California team out there, I think Fresno State was like 4 hours or something. So Michigan State took a plane, and they took a commercial plane out there, and they're adjusting to a whole new atmosphere and a whole new environment, and it was a lot different than what they had experienced before. They had made the tournament in 33 years going up to that, which is just a really long time, and there was a lot of pressure. And I thought they did fairly well, with all things considered. They didn't have the bat strength that I thought they were going to have. Torsten Boss definitely slumped at the end of the year, and that was tough to see. Ryan Jones, another one that didn't do as well at the end of the year as they would have hoped, and they were kind of buoyed a little bit by their freshmen. They had a nice show up with a freshman, but they couldn't put it all together against Pepperdine, who was a very strong team, and Fresno State is again a very strong team. And I don't know how they would have fared well against Stanford, who's also very, very tough. So
yeah, tough to say what they've done against Stanford. But looking at, as far as let's go to the draft now, obviously it's very exciting. They got 4 players drafted. Out of those 4 players, you got Bucafaro, Jones, Weaver, and Boss. Just in your opinion, kind of let's just say they all get a chance to play in a major league team. Who do you say, just kind of in your opinion, who got the best chance to break into the major leagues first, based on their position? Because you got 2 position players, they have 2 pitchers.
It's hard to say. Tony Bucafaro is probably the furthest along of them. Him being a senior and the other 3 being juniors. That he's had the experience, and he's had the opportunity to throw in big games, and he threw the Big Ten championship game last year where they clinched, and he's had the opportunity to be there, and those 3 guys have as well. But Tony's had the starts, and he's been a weekend starter for 3 years, so he's definitely had an opportunity. Ryan Jones is very athletic. He has a nose for the baseball, and he puts the ball in play. He gets the bat on the ball, very similar to Brandon Eckerly, who graduated the year before, and those kind of skills translate very well at the major league level. Torsten Boss showed a lot of pop during his time in Michigan State. He had I think 5 home runs this year, and he had a solid average throughout the year up to about the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. And he's in a good organization in Baltimore, who's really very prospect heavy. So I think Torsten Boss could do well there in the Baltimore organization. Again, Tony Weaver, he was versatile. He's been his whole career. He was an outfielder and the closer, Michigan State's all-time saves leader, and he also got into quite a few games at the plate, and he was very talented. I think all 4 of them have a very, very solid chance to do something at the major league level. Obviously it's based on how they develop, and you never know how that's going to go, how that process is going to be. But all 4 of those guys are very talented. I would say out of the 4, Tony Bucafaro is probably among the tops. He has good stuff. He has a nice arm. He threw a lot of innings in college. That's kind of a red flag, and they're going to watch that early for him. But
yeah,
all 4 of those guys are incredible.
He seems like a guy that might not necessarily overpower the fastball, because based on the games I've watched him, he touches high 80s, low 90s, but his location's on point, and I think the power or the fastball will come over time as he gets older. But I definitely agree with you there. And then kind of another what if, let's say all 4 get into the major leagues. Which one, in your opinion, just kind of as a fun little guess, which one would you say would have the best or the longest career out of all of them?
God, that's hard to say. That's hard to say, because out of last year's group that went, and Eckerly and Jones, or Eckerly, Holm, and Wunderlich, I would have said that Eckerly probably had the best chance to make the major leagues, and then as you may or may not know, he retired. So it's hard to say how people are going to develop and what their interest in the game is. I think Torsten Voss or Ryan Jones are probably right up there as far as guys that can contribute at the major league level. Like I said, Ryan's got a nose for the baseball. He's very comfortable at the plate. He's very confident for his age, and he's a good speaker. He's a good interview. It's hard to. Not to find a place for somebody like him in your system. And also, Torsten Voss he can hit, and he's kind of quiet. He's very reserved, very quiet, very to himself. But he's probably the better player of the two of them. But either one of them would have a lot of success at the major league level. They could have a long, sustainable career, just depending on how they develop and how the system comes along for them.
All right, and last question for you, just kind of talking about next season. Who's someone that's kind of under the radar maybe this year that you see having a big year next year?
I think no question, David Garner. He showed up in the middle of the year. He really showed up his freshman year, and everybody was just like, "Who is this kid?" He can throw very hard, and he's accurate. Sometimes he gets a little loose in the strike zone, and you saw that this year. Sometimes he would just come out and struggle, have a bad game, and you just kind of wonder which version of him you're going to see. But as he's gotten older, he's gotten more consistent. I think you'll see that next year. I think he's going to take the leap into being the next ace. After Wozak graduates, he's very talented for his age, and he's very mature, and he handles the spotlight as well as I've seen it. So I think you're going to see a big leap from Garner.